When I first signed on and got my Google AdWords grant, I worked and worked and worked, and I couldn't get more than $300 spent in a month. And then I got somebody like you to work with me, and then we placed some ads, and we grew it. And within 3 months, I was spending the whole 10,000, and we were getting a lot. And then I got somebody like you to work with me, and then we placed.
Facebook is here.
So I got somebody to help me, and we spent every penny of that 10,000, and we were getting just lots of people coming. And then we've started learning the conversion thing, because Cinevision has this online community, and more people in there, the merrier. And so there's an art to being able to spend that money, but there's a lot more regulation now than when we started. So talk about why people need help. That's what we've titled this session. Why do people need help? Because we know what kind of words to put in there, but I ended up, after that experience, having like 17,000 keyword combinations, and not all of them work. So I was honing in on the ones that were driving the most traffic. But how do you make it work, Hank? How do you help people make it work?
Well, you bring up well, this is what happened in January. Was we had a lot of people that were in the program having the $10,000, and a lot of people were at $300. They weren't using it properly. And, Google is very, that's their bread and butter, is AdWords. That's where 98%, Google's a big company, one of the biggest in the world. But 98% of their money comes from AdWords. So that's their baby. And when they give it away, they want to make sure people are doing it properly. So in January of last year, they made a lot of changes, and they wanted to make sure that everybody was doing what they needed to be doing. And I think it's good for everybody. It's good for AdWords, and it's good for everybody, because AdWords wants to make sure that if you're spending their money, that you're doing it properly. And so they want people to focus on the high conversions instead of just going for exposure and just a lot of hits, as you said earlier. And some of the changes are, for example, they are looking at geo-targeting. So geo-targeting means that a lot of people just, hey, here's my ad. It's going to go to the world, and hopefully it does well. And they're really focusing now that you can't bid like that anymore. You really need to bid for your locations and your central locations where you're getting the most results. And you can find that through your Google Analytics, and you can find the states and the cities and the areas where you're getting the best results. And that's the kind of thing they want you to focus on, and that's called geo-targeting. And that's really what they want you to do. And then again, another thing that they're looking at is the ad quality standards. And so the ads they want people to make better ads. And so each ad has to have, each campaign, you need 2 ad groups for each campaign. An ad group is an area where you put your keywords and you kind of group them, similar keywords. So now you have to have for each campaign, for example, like I said earlier, a book sale for a church. Then you would have something 2 groups that are related to people searching for books, and those would be the ad groups. And then each ad group has to have 2 ad text ads. So you need to have 2 ads for every ad group. And this is all making AdWords better. This is the way that we do as when we do consulting and professionals. So it's making sure that people do it the way that everybody who does AdWords properly is doing it. So they're kind of making people more professional, as you might say. And then also these ads need to have site link extensions. So they're, it's a big part of AdWords is these site links. And it just makes your ads larger than they may have been before. And it's just linking to other parts of your site that might be related to this, other parts of interest. So they're making better ads that way. And then let's see, what else? Well, they're also making sure, as you may have seen, that we have a click-through rate. What a click-through rate is when you see an ad, they're making sure that every ad is shown as being clicked for as much as possible. So whereas in general, AdWords is about a 1.9% click-through rate. And what that means is 1.9% of ads that are shown in search, Google search. This is, by the way, this is Google search. This grant, I should have clarified earlier, is for Google search, not for display ads. And that's a whole nother topic, but this is for when people search and enter a keyword. These are your search results, and they're shown at the bottom and at the top and the bottom of the search results. And anyway, so but we have to make sure that anytime those are shown, 5% of the time at least, those ads are being clicked. If they're not, then you're bidding on the wrong keywords and you've got the wrong ads. They're not good quality ads. And also that you don't have good landing pages where people are going to. So they've now made people have a 5% click-through rate for all their ads. Okay. And so, you know, overall, it's just making sure that Google is making sure that the people aren't just spending their money as well as they can and just getting a lot of hits, as you said earlier, and they're making quality go a lot higher.
Russell, you got something cooking. What kind of questions do you have for Hank?
Well, yeah, I was just getting caught up. There's been a lot of changes. I knew a little bit about the program, but not very much. I know that you have to drive a minimum amount of traffic to it. But that makes sense because Google's effectiveness is really built on how well people do. And it's that conversion that makes everything happen. So those are some of the major changes, you know. And that $2 keyword limitation, that's different. So that's a huge change.
It is. It is great.
Yeah. So we're at $10,000. That's a monthly figure. Yes.
Oh, great question. Great question, Russell. That's a great question. Actually, it's just under 10,000 now. It's really per day. So it is about $331 per day, actually. That, depending on how many days in the month, can be, you know, usually wouldn't go over $10,000. So you're right around 9,900 and something. Yeah.
And they track that. Yeah, I didn't know they track that daily. So in addition to the AdWords, what are the other Google services that work well in the grant? So there's some other Google services that are bundled in with the search feature?
Well, we work with a lot of companies that are chains, and so nonprofit chains and have stores such as Salvation Army, Goodwill, and certain missions. I do a lot with thrift stores, so it's a great program. But because of that, we have what's called Google My Business. So Google My Business. Yes, if you do a search for a restaurant, you'll see the restaurant listed in Google Maps, but then you also see more information. Mm-hmm. And so you can actually connect Google Grants with the Google My Business. So that's something we work really hard on, especially when we work with nonprofits like Goodwill and Salvation Army, because we want people in the stores. So we're able to combine now store visits with Google Grants, and we get great results, because if nobody comes to our stores, then we're in trouble. So in this day and age, thrift stores are still doing great, and so we get a lot of mileage out of maximizing and working really, really hard with Google My Business, because we feel like it's huge, and it's great.
And what type of information goes into Google My Business?
Well, I guess they are connected. They're both connected, and so often what happens is there's a link, for example, in an ad to your local Google My Business. So you could be searching, say, for where's my local Goodwill, and they'll show you an ad which can go to the website, but it can also go to Google My Business, and that's how you sync them together. But we do images of the outside of the store, the inside of the store. We do tours of the store. Of course, you have reviews, and we work really hard with getting good reviews, good images, and we also can do postings. So we'll do coupons in our stores, and we'll do and you can do posting now, which that's a whole nother topic. But Google My Business used to be Google Plus, if you remember Google Plus, which is no longer
it just
around.
Recently disappeared. I had a lot of content on there that I archived off of my page, so I need to set up a business profile for it, I think.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be a store, by the way. So, it can be a service. So you don't need to have a physical location to have a Google My Business page. But yes. And like you said, I mean, it's just a summary of what you do. And all of this is actually searchable also. So, and I would recommend anybody who has a Google My Business to start posting to Google My Business, because that helps you to rank. Because, if you're looking for, well, let's just say like a thrift store, where's the local thrift store? You want your business to be first in the results of the maps, and posting, having good information. This is all very important. So to answer your question, really Google My Business is really a great combination, depending on what you have. But even if you have a service business, I think it's great, and it's something people don't even think about or work very hard on. There's just so much information that could be started. That's a whole nother topic of all the things that could be done with Google My Business, but that should give you a pretty good start.
Well, yeah, I missed my Google Plus page already. It's only been a week. So yeah, I have to put that out there.
I know. It's crazy how only Google can do this, right? I mean, something that thousands, millions of people are using, and they just drop it. So many things are like that.
Well, they set the quality standard for search. I mean, they've taken over the world in that regard. So now I understand why they want to make sure that it's working well, because the space they're giving away is actually their bread and butter. So, yeah, if you think about that, where they generate all their revenue. And what are some of the ways that you found that the Google grants have benefited a lot of nonprofits?
Well, I think a lot of nonprofits, as we talked before, we had the limit of $300 a day, and $300 a day is what a lot of people end up spending in the whole month. And and so we help them to get more. And it's even harder now that they've got these stipulations to make them being run more professional, like. And so, but some of the ways I've found is that we've been able to generate more revenue for. We've been able to. We've had some nonprofits that were just getting $100 and $100 a week or so on donations, and we were able to bring them 10 times that, like $1,000 just by doing proper searching and doing proper research. And I mean, Google AdWords is very closely related to SEO, so we need to make sure that the people that are searching for what they're searching for is they're coming in and getting the results that they need. So really, it would be donations, sales, attending events, the ticket sales. We run car donations. So we basically bringing in more money for the nonprofits is really what we like to do, as well as sending out the message of what you do, and so people understand. And counteracting any kind of negative information that could happen out there. Unfortunately, there's nonprofits, sadly, that people have nothing better to do than to troll nonprofits and to find problems with it, but they don't understand what really is going on within nonprofits. So we're able to make sure they have a good image and they're represented. So when people are searching for things about this nonprofit, that we're also providing our side of the information in order we can counterbalance some of the negativity that's going on out there. So we check the news, we see what people are searching for, and we try and counteract that with the information we provide show them information that's not always coming from us, but from third parties also.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that increased visibility. So I never really thought about reputation management in relation to a Google grant. What are some of the ways or some of the things that a nonprofit can do with its website and its online presence to place them in a position to better meet these new requirements?
Well, I think, and that's a great question, Russell. I mean, I think a lot of people don't think about, people just put up a website. They don't think about really what they're trying to accomplish. And, let Google help you by making it very clear what you want to accomplish. And that means that, it's a great question. A lot of people, surprisingly, still don't understand. And I work with some pretty big marketing people, still don't understand. And you've done e-commerce, I believe yourself, Russell. So you understand the value of landing pages, and giving people the information that they need when they're searching for it, and being very, very specific. And I know you had Pip on a while ago, creating funnels, and it's really the same idea. Is we want to create funnels, we want to create information, we want to be very specific. We want to sit back and think about your website, what you want to accomplish, and finding ways, the simplest, easiest way to give that information to the people that are searching. And what are people searching for? And what are people, we can even go backwards and search and see. And by the way, AdWords gives you a good idea of what the keywords people are using. Unfortunately, without AdWords, you don't get that information. Not even with Google Analytics do you really get very good search information. So we can look at that information and then help you to help your people get the information they need, and send your message to the people, and also how they can help you and how you can help them. So really it's about creating the website properly, that's in line with what people are looking for when they're online looking for you. And then also helping them the best. So it takes some strategizing, it takes a while, but we kind of talk about, if I was, sit back and put yourself in the other person's shoes, and what does it feel like to them going through your website to get the information they need. And sometimes, we'll even get third parties to come in. You might even get relatives to come in and say, what do you think about my website? Because sometimes we're just so involved in it that we don't really get a chance to really step back and think about, okay, are we really, here's what I want to accomplish here. Why do I have this website? What do I want to accomplish? And then is my website doing that? Because really, I see this a lot where people think, well, they could just run ads on AdWords, for a topic or for something they want to promote, and it's like a billboard, and then they'll just get all this traffic. But unfortunately, Google's very, very concerned about the searcher, and that the information that you're showing them is what they're searching for. And it's called quality score. And so it's a quality score of the keyword, and it's a quality score of the landing page. And if what you're providing them is not shown in the landing page, then you're not going to, somebody else's ads are going to show. So it's actually a bidding process, but the bidding process is not only about money, but it's about quality. So you really want to make sure that you are providing the information that searcher is looking for.
Yeah,
got through a lot after there.
Well, there's a lot to do in this. And so it takes a substantial investment probably in educating yourself and spending time learning it, or getting the right people to do it for you. Let's look at a couple of scenarios. First, let's say you got somebody that says, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money, but you're talking about in a month, if you look at it like $10,000 of potential value that's left on the table, you probably want to invest in getting somebody that knows what to do. But let's say you have a staff member, or some organizations are in a position where they might have a staff member that handles this type of thing. How much time will they need to invest, and what sort of training is involved for them to manage it themselves?
Well, that's a great question too. I would say, once you have it set, the main part is getting it set up. And so, on occasion, I often will do that for clients where we will set it up for them to get them started. And so we'll just start a flat fee, not to manage it. But, the hardest part is getting everything set up. And what we do sometimes with clients too, is we'll create sort of what's called scripts. And for example, you need to make sure. Another thing I didn't talk about is single word keywords. They don't allow that either. They got to make sure you're not bidding on branded keywords. So we set up tracking that will alert you if you're crossing any of these boundaries. You might be adding keywords that don't matter. You might be not adding enough ads. So we create scripts inside of AdWords for people that sends warnings back to you, that's constantly checking the AdWords. So it's kind of like it's run through Excel and through Google Sheets, but it keeps checking your AdWords account
Okay.
So that's one way that you could do it is, or, you know, you can set up scripts or have someone set up these scripts just to make sure everything's going. You can hand it to anybody. And this way, if they did something wrong, you'd be notified, and just making sure everything's at 5%, you know, the ads are correct. But to answer your question, I mean, you can get training through Google. You know, I really think, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've trained my employees through Google. So Google has their own training for their AdWords program, and you really can't beat it. I mean, there's nobody out there that could do better than what you can read books. It would take you a long time, but the best programs to go through are through Google, and they can teach you. And that could take you, I mean, it's a pretty complicated program, so it could take you a couple months if you had, you know, an employee to go through it, you know, using about a quarter of their time, maybe a few hours a day. It could take them a couple months to go through it and get it. You could probably get things up in about a month, and then about another month training. So, you know, and then to manage it, you probably need, I think you need to, we check all our accounts every day.
Okay.
And yeah, we have software that does that. But, you know, if you had somebody running yours, they would need to do it they'd want to spend about 30 minutes a day checking the account, making sure everything is good. And then about, I would say, a couple hours a week, maximizing the campaigns. But then also, you know, kind of thinking about what you want to accomplish. And then also, you know, at least a couple hours a week, 2 to 3 hours, maybe 2 to 4, also making sure and tweaking the landing pages. So you need about 2 to 4 hours to answer your question, and about a month of training to get started, and then maybe another month to, you know, to maintain that.
Yeah. Well, most organizations are probably not in a position where they have that luxury. So I think that's where having experts come in to do that. And if you're talking about what they can accomplish, and there's a lot. I mean, when you explain how to do it, and it's especially important to do it well now, because Google has upped the ante on the standard of quality. So if you've got somebody that is struggling with a strategy, they say, this is all well and good, but we're not exactly sure how we want to put our strategy together. How would you go about helping them do that?
Well, that's a great. How would we put a strategy together for what they want to accomplish with AdWords?
Yes.
I mean, it changes, Russell, and I mean, this is why I like working just with nonprofits. By the way, because as you said, it takes a while to learn these things, and that's why I focus on nonprofits. I do focus, primarily with larger nonprofits. But anyways, you get used to the same thing over and over again. But to answer your question, I think we would just sit down. It's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We just sit down, and it's not always apparent on your website, but in fact, it's very interesting that you said it, because a lot of times what I see on their website is not what they really are thinking they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so that's a good start, you know, and you look at the website and you go, oh my gosh, you know, I mean, if you step back and look at your website for a minute and see what you're trying to accomplish right now. And I mean, you know, in the kindest way possible. And, but really what we have to do then is, so for example, so that's what we do. We just kind of have a discussion, you know, we sit down and we talk about what I could do, what they will try to do, what they want to do. And then also I think, Russell, is that we look at, we use a tool called SEM Rush, and anybody who can't afford to hire somebody, I think they need to have tools like SEM Rush, or I think Hugh had talked to me one time about WordStream or something. So we use different tools that you can apply. So if you don't hire somebody professional, you can use different tools that'll give you an edge. And so SEM Rush, for example, we talk about, I think we'd have several meetings, you know, where we would start. And then we would, you know, if it's a new client, I have a pretty good idea of the clients I have, but the fields that I work in, and with churches and these large thrift stores. But we also look at, when we bring new people in, we look at what people are searching for and what the competition is and what they are bidding on. And that kind of information is through a tool called SEM Rush. So we would then provide, we get started with them, then we come back, we do an SEM Rush analysis, which takes a couple hours. And then we come back with that, and then we go through and say, okay, we'd like to accomplish this, but the competition is really strong here. There's an opening here, let's start there. And once we get the funds for that, then we can push and go other directions.
Hank, you mentioned fundraising in some of that dialogue. And Russ and I find that most nonprofits are deficient in sources of funding. It seems like there'd be a lot of competition. How well does it work raising money online?
Well, you're right, Hugh. It is difficult because people aren't looking to who can I give money for to, They aren't looking for that all the time. Like who will take my money? You had a great guest last week that can help with those kind of things, too. And, but yeah, we have to be realistic, and I mean, I think sometimes it's about, bringing people in that's a good reason to bring people in on your message. What is your message to the people and what can you accomplish? So it's sort of like, and then you had Pip coming in the other day, before, and you can't target like, who can I give money to? And, so you have to find other ways that you can get your message to people, create an email list, and then build a relationship with somebody. Because that's what I found is that we've tried that. And, we do get money from donations, people wanting to donate to local charities, and it definitely works, and would not, discourage that, because we get amazing results when it happens, but it's not something to hang your hat on necessarily. I would look more at building relationships with people, massaging people, and bringing them into the fold, giving them free advice, free information, and then selling them on maybe books, services, courses. Depending on, it just really depends, but or letting them know why your service is important. Why is it important to save dogs, for example? That stray dogs. That's a big thing for people. And you get people this information, but they're not looking to give money necessarily right off the bat to their local dog shelter. But once you show them the dogs, you tell them what your mission is, and you kind of bring them into the fold. So I think it's sometimes better to kind of massage the client, so like a cold lead that you then, and that's of course why, I mean, a lot of what we do when we talk about conversions is we create email lists. I mean, I don't see email lists going anywhere. I know we all hate getting bombarded with emails, but they continue to perform, and they continue to perform really, really well, and they're super cheap. Once you have them, I mean, the drop-off rate is really good, is really low, and the open rates are really high, and the click rates are really high when you have a captive audience. So to answer your question, that's kind of a long way, but just to say that I would bring people in, look at other ways to bring people in, and then start building a relationship, and then ask them for donations at that point.
We like to talk a lot about relationships and getting connected to people. And for me, that key word is value. And so what's valuable to the people you're trying to reach? And you want to be able to communicate that if you know who your audiences are, and figure out who they are and what's important to them. And part of that value is providing valuable information, valuable content, right, valuable information that's of interest. And I see a lot of people, it seems like with a lot of entities, the only time that people on their mailing list hear from them is when they want some more money, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Hank, how do people find out about it? It's Sunray Marketing, is it?
Yeah, sunraymarketing.com, and so you can go to our website if you want to find any more information about us. You can also contact me at hank@sunraymarketing.com. And if it's okay, Hugh, I'd like to make an offer to your viewers.
Okay.
Just see what I was thinking about here. So, really, what what I was thinking about is two things, and I'm offering this to 3 nonprofits. Those with a Google grant already, we'll set up a landing page for you, and we'll of course strategize and set up a landing page for you, and make sure that we set up all your conversions, and we'll set up all your tracking. So I'll set up one landing page for you for free, and that's something normally we would charge about $700 for. And so I'll offer that to 3 nonprofits. If you don't have a Google grant, we will offer to set that up for you, go through all the processes. It could get quite confusing. And so we'll make sure and set everything up and then hand it over to you. So we'll do that for a total of 3 nonprofits. And, you know, I mean, something else I think Russell asked earlier, and I just, you know, I meant to touch on this as I was just thinking about it, is, you know, you need to make sure that you follow these guidelines very closely, and you ask how we can help, and we make sure that you don't get banned, and you really don't want to get banned. And another thing is you need to make sure that you're managing these AdWords. If, like we talked earlier, that, you know, you should spend a few minutes a day looking at it, a few hours a week. But if you're only touching these campaigns once a month or so, Google will ban you. And even if you're following everything we discussed, which would be difficult if you're not checking on your ads and your campaigns, Google will ban you. And that is no fun. It's really difficult because there's nobody really to call, and there's nobody that you can really talk to about this, because it's all volunteers. Everybody at Google is volunteering their time out of their own, you know, out of their own hearts and their own goodwills, that they're offering their time. And if you try and call AdWords support, they don't know, they're not familiar with it. We have about 30,000 people that are in the Google Grants program, but if you call, but there's millions, you know, that are in Google AdWords. And so if you try and talk to them about what's going on in your, why you've been banned, they're really not going to give you very good information. In fact, to be honest, they don't really have very good information. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but they don't have very good information even for Google AdWords, that you don't know yourself when you call them for support. But it's even worse with Google Grants. They don't even know these stipulations of 5% that we just talked about. These are common things. But if you get banned, and that's why, as we talked earlier, sometimes it's even good to have scripts running that'll keep monitoring your AdWords campaigns, that'll tell you, hey, by the way, you know, maybe by accident you only got 2 ads for this in this AdWord group, you know, and then, oh, I need to go in there and just add another ad, you know. But these little things, if you don't do them, they'll just ban you, and then you're stuck, because then you got to go through the whole program again. And so, you know, you really don't want to end up in that situation. So you want to make sure you set everything up properly.
So Hank, this is a lot of good data. And so it's Hank at sunraymarketing.com. They can go directly to sunraymarketing.com, find out about your services. There's a whole lot to know. And I will tell people that I'm really good at social media, and I couldn't figure out how to spend the money. And so having somebody like you is essential. We're going to give a sponsor moment here, and then we're going to toss it to you for a closing thought before Dennis wraps up this really good interview. So you get to have a challenge or a tip or a closing thought. Our sponsor today is WordSprint. WordSprint is a printing house, but they're a mailing house, and they've been our sponsor for years. And if you're looking at this on video, there's a screen of the magazine. So if you go to nonprofitperformance.org, you'll be able to read the magazine. And the latest issue is just dropping right now, and it's about partnerships and collaborations. And on the cover is a newly renovated theater that's in downtown Lynchburg, where I live. And the whole community came together to make sure this became a reality. It's a historic theater. So as you're looking at the screen, you see this is what the magazine looks like. And you can actually read the magazine online. It's a flip book, and you can make it larger so that it takes the whole screen. You can actually read the words. And so also I want to encourage people to think about the community. We mentioned the online community. Well, when you go to the the Nonprofit Performance Magazine on the site. Well, it's not showing here. Okay. If you go to the Nonprofit Performance Magazine on the community, here it is. You'll see at the top of the page, join. There's a big blue button there. And when you join the community, you're connected to nonprofit leaders all over. So if you go to nonprofitperformance.org, it takes you to the place to view the magazines. But then at the top of that page, there's join today, and you can join for free. You can join for $10 a month, and you can join for $47 a month. It tells you all the stuff you get for the accelerated program. And at the top level, you get in a weekly Thursdays at 3 Q&A with Hugh, and we'll expand it to Hugh and team as we grow this. We're looking for a critical mass. And we're about ready to reactivate our Adwords program, and maybe we'll be talking to you because we want everybody to know about community membership. So WordSprint prints and mails our magazine. WordSprint helps us stay in contact with our constituents with this constant drip of message to the right person and the rhythm. So it's top of mind marketing and mail it. And if people have it in their hand, but we use it with postcards, we use it with mail announcements. And they're got 2 decades of research showing how this helps you maintain donors. This shows how you get new donors and new board members and new volunteers because you're telling people about the work of your charity. So Hank, this has been really informative. Thank you for being our guest today. This will show up on the Nonprofit Exchange, all over social media. The Nonprofit Exchange, the nonprofitexchange.org, takes you to the page where your interview can be found, audio and video. Also, anywhere you get a podcast, it'll go live a few days from now. And so anywhere you get a podcast, you'll find the Nonprofit Exchange. And there's 4 years worth of useful information. I don't believe, Russell, we've had anybody before to talk about this topic, though. So, Hank, thank you for this. What thought?
Thank you. I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Thought do you want to leave with people as we end this great interview?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on, first of all, Hugh. And I was going to say, I want to make sure and say that because I enjoy your interviews. I mean, you've had some great people on, and Russell, you both are really good. I've enjoyed watching them as you've, just the people, every one of them has just such great information. I don't know how you find these people, but every week you just have, I would encourage anybody to listen to more of these podcasts and to watch them. I actually download some of the podcasts and I enjoy watching them on YouTube also. So there's just some great information. I'll have lunch and I'll watch one of your videos and one of your podcasts. And I think they're very entertaining. So, my job is to help people. I like working with nonprofits. I like to take the experience I have. But I think what I can bring is, some of these things we're trying to expel a lot of information, but I'm somebody who can bring it down to you, and we can talk strategy, and we can talk business, and we could talk, nonprofit is a business, and we could talk about how we can make the most of your nonprofit, but we can break it down into simple terms. And I want to let everybody know that even though we talk about click-through rates, I like to think that I don't ever want to talk over anybody's head on these kind of things. I want to be very down to earth, and no matter what your experience level is, I want to make this understandable to you. So I have no problems working with people who maybe this is new for, and we could talk about ways. So if you want to try the Google Grants, let me know, and we could talk about it, and I'll go ahead and set up for you, and I can hand it back over to you. So that's something I'm offering for 3 nonprofits. Just contact me at hank@sunraymarketing.com, or if you have a conversion you'd like to work on and you have some ideas, then we can work on a landing page that makes sure, we talked earlier about making websites proper. We would also, in the same regard, really, you don't need to redo a whole website, by the way. Someone say, oh, okay, now you talked about my website. What do I have to do? I have to do a whole new website? No, you don't. I think the main thing is we had to make landing pages that are going with AdWords. So it might be 1, 2, 3 pages that can make all the difference on your website. So don't sit back and go, oh, I got to do a whole new website. That's not the case. We just would create landing pages that would be conversion based on your missions and what you want to accomplish. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciated it.
thanks, Hank. We really appreciate you coming by. I have learned way more than I ever knew about Google Grants, and I appreciate that. I'd like to thank Bill Gilmer and his team for supporting us today. Right message to the right people at the right rhythm that looks good. And that's what Bill does for us. We are here every Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. And the reason that we look so good is because we get brilliant people like Hank on here to share their wisdom with us here to help you, all of you out there who are in the trenches every day, making a real difference in the lives of other people. You're doing brilliant work, but the most important thing is for people to really know about the work you're doing. And so this Google Grant is a way for you to be able to do that. And doing it well, you can get, if you look at your investment in that, you're getting $10,000 worth of value when it's done right. And it's a little bit trickier. So please take advantage, go visit Hank's site. And in the meantime, keep on making a difference out there in the world every day. We will see you back here at the same time next Tuesday on the Nonprofit Exchange. You can find us both in the iTunes store and on Stitcher.
Good. Got a good clean start and stop. You two people, thank you.